Egyptian President Sisi and South Korean President Lee hold a joint press conference in Cairo during Lee's first visit, marking 30 years of diplomatic ties. The United Nations General Assembly approves Egypt's resolution affirming Palestinians' right to self-determination, backed by 164 countries. Egyptians overseas start voting tonight in the second phase of the 2025 parliamentary elections from New Zealand to California. Egyptian President Fattah al-Sisi and South Korean President Lee Jae-myung held a joint press conference in Cairo during President Lee's first visit to Egypt, marking 30 years of diplomatic relations between both countries. President al-Sisi welcomed President Lee, highlighting the strong bilateral partnership and Egypt's desire to expand Korean investments in sectors including technology, telecommunications, AI, automotive, shipbuilding, and pharmaceuticals. He also spoke positively about plans to establish a Korean university and schools in Egypt to foster educational exchange. President Lee expressed gratitude from Egypt's warm reception and emphasized Seoul's commitment to deepening cooperation in government, business, and culture. Both leaders underscored their support for peace and stability in the Middle East and also reaffirmed the two-state solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. During the conference, they announced the signing of a memoranda of understanding in culture and education and emphasized joint efforts on regional security, global challenges, and international cooperation. The 77th convoy of the Zaid al-Azza humanitarian initiative has crossed from the Egyptian side of the Rafah border, crossing into Gaza, carrying more than 11,000 tons of urgently needed aid. The Egyptian Red Crescent said the convoy includes essential winter supplies, among them 47,400 blankets, around 74,250 pieces of warm clothing, and over 9,300 shelter tents. In total, it is loaded with 11,800 tons of humanitarian relief, comprising 7,450 tons of food and flour, more than 3,000 tons of medical aid, and over 1,350 tons of petroleum products. The United Nations General Assembly has overwhelmingly adopted Egypt's annual resolution affirming the Palestinian people's right to self-determination, with support from 164 states. Egypt, submitting the text on behalf of the Islamic group, welcomed the board endorsement, which reflects firm international backing for the Palestinians' rights, including establishment of an independent state. Egypt reaffirmed its steadfast commitment to support these rights and coordinating with regional and international partners. It also stressed the importance of implementing President Trump's peace plan and UN Security Council Resolution 2803 to secure a ceasefire, advance reconstruction, and pave the way for a just political settlement. Egypt's Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli says this November has brought a series of major milestones for Egypt, from the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum to progress on the Daba nuclear plant, which he says will save up to $3 billion a year. Speaking at a news conference, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said Egypt is turning a new, bright page with the start of the Daba nuclear project, describing it as the fulfillment of a national dream that has existed since the mid-20th century. He also said that the plant is expected to save between $200 and $300 billion annually once fully operational, thanks to reduced fuel imports. Madbouli added that major international companies he meets constantly ask for land in the Suez Canal economic zone, reflecting strong investor interest in Egypt's strategic location and infrastructure. Egypt's new capital is preparing to host the IRC Expo 2025 next December, the first global platform to showcase research solutions under the patronage of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and opened by Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli. Organizers say IRC Expo 2025 will position Egypt as a global launch pad for innovation, bringing together governments, researchers, companies and investors to match real-world challenges with cutting-edge research outputs. The event is set to feature more than 150 international participants from around 50 countries with 35 global pavilions, 15 keynote speakers and 25 subsectors of innovation. The expo will see international agreements signed and advanced solutions launched in fields such as health, industry, artificial intelligence, energy, environment, agriculture, food security, and deep tech. Head of the Anti-Money Laundering and Terrorism Financing Unit, Ahmed Saeed Khalil, asserted that Egypt adopted a proactive approach to keep pace with the rapid developments of financial technology, ensuring that it is not misused in financial crimes. During Khalil's speech at the opening session of the annual Forum of Compliance Managers in Arab Banks, Khalil noted that Egypt's efforts to address challenges related to the evolution of financial crimes have included the issuance of several important laws in this field, in addition to the state's commitment to utilizing modern technology to support efforts to combat financial crimes in compliance with the relevant legal frameworks. Egyptians abroad begin voting tonight in the second phase of the 2025 parliamentary elections, with the first polling station opening in New Zealand and the last closing in California. Polling for the second phase of the House of the Representatives elections kicks off for expatriates at 10 p.m. car local time, as Egypt's embassy in Wellington opens its doors at 9 a.m. local time, ahead of 139 embassies and consulates in 117 countries over Friday and Saturday, 21 and 22 November. Voting at each mission runs from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. local time, supervised by diplomatic staff and foreign ministry employees. Balloting inside Egypt will follow on 24 and 25 November, with official results due on December the 2nd and a possible runoff for overseas voters on 15 and 16 December, ahead of a domestic runoff on 17 and 18 December if required. Deputy Foreign Minister for Immigration Nabil Habashi renewed his call on Egyptians abroad to head to the nearest diplomatic mission and participate in the second phase of the 2025 House of Representatives elections set for Friday and Saturday. Habashi said the state is committed to facilitating voting procedures for expatriates whose voices are no less important than those inside Egypt. He urged communities abroad to preserve their constitutional gains by taking part in choosing their parliamentary representatives and supporting the country's democratic process. Habashi praised the strong turnout and political awareness shown by Egyptians abroad in the first phase, saying their participation reflected deep belonging and a commitment to contributing to the building of the new republic. Electoral silence for the second phase of the Egypt's 2025 House of Representatives elections has begun today. Authorities warned that violations of the silence period may result in fines of up to £100,000. The announcement follows the completion of the first phase of the voting, which saw overseas ballots cast 7 and 8 of November and in-country voting held on 10 and 11 November across 14 governorates. The second phase of the elections will take place inside Egypt on November 24 to 25 across 13 governorates, including Cairo, Qalyubiyya, Daqqahliya, Munufiyya, Gharbiyya, Kafr al-Sheikh, Sharqiyya, and the North Sinai and South Sinai. Results are scheduled for release on December the 2nd. If required, runoffs will be held for expatriates on December the 1st and 2nd for the first phase and December 15-16 for the second, while in-country runoffs will take place on December the 3rd and 4th and December 17-18 respectively. Egypt's cabinet has approved new regulations for foreign film production, establishing a single digital window for permits and offering incentives to attract major international projects. Under a draft decree by Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, the Egypt Film Commission, EFC, part of Egyptian Media and Production City, will become the sole body coordinating all permits for foreign shoots. Through a unified digital portal, the EFC will manage applications and will state agencies and ensure compliance with technical security and cybersecurity requirements. The Commission will also promote Egypt as a competitive filming hub, handling script approvals, assist with equipment entry and exit, provide logistical support and accompany production teams at airports and ports. The government will also work with the EFC to introduce incentives aimed at drawing large-scale productions. The Egyptian Drug Authority has affirmed that vaccines remain among the most vital medical tools for protecting global public health. In a statement, the authority noted that immunization helps prevent, as estimated, 2 to 3 million deaths annually worldwide, in addition to millions of cases in which dangerous complications and hard-to-treat diseases are avoided. The authority urged citizens to adhere to the vaccination schedules recommended by Ministry of Health for both children and adults. It emphasized that its core mandate to ensure that all vaccines supplied to the public meet strict standards of quality, safety, and effectiveness. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin from Egypt. But before we wrap up, here's a recap of the top stories making headlines this hour. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and South Korean President Lee hold a joint press conference in Cairo during Lee's first visit, marking 30 years of diplomatic ties. The United Nations General Assembly approves Egypt's resolution affirming Palestinians' right to self-determination, backed by 164 countries. And Egyptians overseas start voting tonight in the second phase of the 2025 parliamentary elections from New Zealand to California. For more stories and live updates, follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at QNewsEG. From all of us here, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more news and analysis on Qnews. Thank you for watching. I'm Rama Qasas.